Today we are talking about the secret purpose of symbols as we look at this Masonic book that is over 120 years old, and it describes why symbols exist and what they are for. We're also, if we have enough time, going to get into the part about where it talks about the idea of men and women in Freemasonry. And this is something that, people have asked me in the chat, in the live stream before, and we're going to be able to break this down because that's important as well. But we're mainly jumping in today about the secrets of symbols, why symbols are used, as we take a look at this book on Freemasonry. Now, this book is known as Mystic Masonry, or the Secret Symbols of Freemasonry, and it's over 120 years old by the author J.D. Buck. I believe it was published in 1896 or 1897, somewhere along those lines. And so this is one of my favorite books on Masonry. If you haven't, there's a whole playlist on this book. You can check them out. I'll link to it in a video on a pop-up at the end of this video, but let's jump right into it and you'll see where we're going here. And also, once again, I apologize if I might trip over my words just a bit because the letters are very, very tiny. And it's hard to do this where you all and I can see it at the same time. So here we go. The sign of the master. It must not be looked, or it must not be supposed, that in the ancient mysteries, every initiate became a master in the sense outlined in the preceding chapters. So if you haven't seen the earlier videos, I suggest you do. They're good. There's one that talks about how to become a master. So when they're talking about a master, they're essentially talking about an individual who has realized their divinity, and then having realized their divinity, are now working on earth to try and transform the world and make it a better place. That's what a master is, this realization of one's divine self, and then the transformation of working towards the transformation of the world. That's what it means. So they're saying that it must not be supposed that in the ancient mysteries that every initiate became a master. So not everyone who joined the ancient mysteries reached that level of master. It's actually a very, very difficult level to reach. And we also talked about how it's a bit like in Maslow's hierarchy. It's a bit like the level of transcendence, where self-actualizers then begin to help others self-actualize. It's not completely the same, but there is a very interesting commonality there. And this will get into symbolism in a moment because it ties into this. There were the lesser and greater mysteries. To the lesser, all were eligible. To the greater, very few, and of these few, fewer still were exalted to the sublime and last degree. So you had it structured in a certain way where there were the lesser mysteries, then the greater mysteries, and then higher degrees. And everyone could take part in the lesser mysteries. Only certain people were able to take part in the greater mysteries, and then even fewer went to the last degrees. Some remained for a lifetime in the lower degrees, unable to progress further on account of constitutional defect or mental and spiritual incapacity. The mysteries were unfolded, the building of worlds. So the mysteries unfolded, the building of worlds, the religion of nature, the brotherhood of man, the immortality of the soul, and the evolution of humanity. So essentially what this means, the building of worlds, how worlds were created, creation, the religion of nature, how the laws of reality operate, the brotherhood of man, the fact that we are all connected together as a unity, and the immortality of the soul, that each and every single one of us is not just our bodies, but that we are an immortal soul, and the evolution of humanity, that as a soul, we are going through this process of evolution, which the human body facilitates. It's mental evolution in that capacity. So this is what the mysteries were about. These are what the mysteries unfolded. So no ceremony was artificial and meaningless. No symbol, however grotesque to the ignorant, was merely fanciful. So within these mysteries, there were a lot of ceremonies and ceremonies and symbols. And what they're saying is that every ceremony and every symbol had a hidden meaning behind it, had a purpose behind it. I also want to take note on this part that says and that some were unable to progress further on the account of constitutional defects or mental and spiritual incapacity. So I want to make it very clear that Hyperianism is not a secret society. It's not a mystery school or anything like that. So in Hyperianism, we treat what we do as much more like a university. So you can see how they have these higher degrees and lesser degrees and things tied up in symbolism. We don't really do that. What we do in Hyperianism is much more like a university, in that you have to take certain classes to get to higher level classes. That's how, when you want to learn something, that's how it works. If you want to, learn quantum mechanics, you also have to take, calculus and wave mechanics and classical physics. There's a lot of prerequisites that one has to have before they can tackle the higher things. And so that's a bit like how Hyperianism works. We're not really about veiling things in secrecy, just like quantum mechanics isn't veiled in secrecy. It's out there for anyone who wants to know it. So that's how the difference between, say, like secret societies and mystery schools operate versus how we operate. We want everyone to know this knowledge. We want this knowledge to be accessible to everyone, but you have to have the prerequisites to be able to understand that knowledge. So how the mystery schools work is basically, it's kind of like that, except there's a lot more secrecy and symbolism. You don't really know what you're working towards, and there's these symbols that you kind of have to decipher and figure out. I don't like this. I don't like that it operates in this way. I think it's something that's ultimately not good, and I think it hinders evolution, and I think a lot of it is done for the egos of the people at the top who like to be like, ooh, well, we know the secret knowledge, and can you figure out our hidden puzzle? I don't like that. Just to be clear there. So when they talk about that, well, some remain in the bottom, in the lower degrees and never advance further. You can see this in, I see this a lot in occult groups like the Lima or Chaos Magic, the Illuminates, the Thanateros, Ordo Templi Orientis. So you get people who want to learn magic or something, and they do it because they want to use magic to get a new car or get a new girlfriend or have a better relationship. I see that in Chaos Magic a lot. Chaos Magic is all a lot of chaos magicians, all about money and love. So the thing is, though, is that is not what ultimately these systems are about. Not that Freemasonry is not a magic system. Freemasonry is a symbolic system. It's not a system of magic. It's an esoteric system, but not a system of magic. But magic systems they're kind of structured in the same way. They have the same structure. And what that means is that those people who get into it for those reasons and never move beyond that to realize what that system is truly about is about your own evolution of the soul. In terms of the Lema, this would be knowledge and conversation with the Holy Guardian Angel, or KNC with the HGA. And then also beyond that, understanding that you are helping to actualize the will of the universe and transforming the world. So what it's really about is understanding that you should be using these tools to transform yourself and transform your life in terms of actualizing yourself and becoming the best version of yourself that you can be, and also understanding how reality operates so that you can help transform reality and create a new world. Ultimately, that's what most magic systems and most esoteric systems are about, or at least used to be about. But a lot of people don't know that, because a lot of people never get to those levels, and they stay on the level of, oh, I want to, use a servitor so that I can get a date next week or something. So they never really understand what magic or esoterica is about. But anyway, that being said, I want to make it very clear once again that Hyperianism is not a magic system. It's not a cult system. It's not an esoteric system. It's not a secret society. It operates as a university. Not exactly, but like that, in which we give you the tools. And yes, are there certain levels, so to speak? Well, just like there's certain levels to when you go to school. You can't just jump into quantum physics right away. You have to take prerequisites, but it's not like quantum physics is wrapped in these, esoteric symbols that one must decipher, and you don't even really know where you're going until you get there. So anyway, yeah, I just want to point that out, some of the differences and why things are set up the way that they are. Now, it can be said that in the past, it may have needed to be operated in this way to, say, avoid persecution by the church, but we don't need to do that anymore. That's it's no longer necessary. So let's see. This is a quote by Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. It's another book on Freemasonry that we may read on a live stream one of these times. So it is not in the books of the philosophers, but in the religious symbolism of the ancients that we must look for the footprints of science and rediscover the mysteries of knowledge. The priests of Egypt knew better than we do the laws of movement and life. So what this quote is saying, man, we have a lot to talk about today. We'll have to see how far we get because there's always so much to break it down. What they're saying in this quote by Albert Pike is that you're not going to find the answers in philosophy. Where you're going to find them is wrapped up in the secret symbolism of the ancients. That's where you're going to figure things out. So this is both right and wrong. It's wrong in that philosophy is extremely important. Philosophy is required to understand how to think logically, rationally, and understand the nature of reality in that sort of linear, sequential way of thinking. Now, the thing is that a lot of magic systems, a lot of occult systems, a lot of ancient mystery systems, they go much further than philosophy. And they're also much more about practice than philosophy. Whereas philosophy is more about theory. Most of like the magic schools and whatnot, they're more about practice rather than theory, where they don't really care why things work. They just want the action to occur. They want to transform their life. They want to transform the world. They don't really care about, so much of the theory. Whereas in philosophy, it's really more about theory. Philosophers talk about how the world might be, but they really don't go out there and make any changes. They don't go out and establish, world transforming movement or something like that. I mean, there are exceptions. There are definitely exceptions. But for the most part, philosophy is more concerned with how things work rather than actually going out there and implementing change. And the magic esoteric schools are kind of the opposite of that. And they also go beyond philosophical concepts, but in an intuitive way, not a rigorous way. So what really needs to happen is, and Hyperionism is a synthesis of all these different things. So it takes the power of philosophy and logical thinking and rational thinking, and then takes the power of the occult systems of intuition and being able to extrapolate into regions that philosophy doesn't always reach, guided by logic, guided by reason, and also focusing on world transformation as well by using the knowledge of reality that we have to actually make change right here, right now. So it needs to be this merger. And we talked about concept networking earlier in the live stream that you probably didn't see. But that's another part of so you always have to be taking these things that are apparently opposite, but see how they connect and complement each other and give rise to a higher thing. So again, that's what Hyperionism is all about. It's not magic, it's not occult, it's not esoteric, it's not like that. But we take a look at these different things and we give those who are interested the tools so that they can be able to understand these things for themselves. So anyway, what Pike is saying, is he right that it's not found in philosophy, but it's founded in the symbolism of the ancients? He's not right and he's not wrong. In philosophy, if you just go with the symbols of the ancients, you're going to get a lot of stories and you're not really going to know what it's talking about. But it might go further than what philosophy normally talks about. But philosophy is going to give you the logic and the reason and the foundation to understand how to think properly so you don't go fucking crazy. Because you will go crazy if all you do is spend your time in these occult systems and these secret societies and all that, because they fuck with you. And sometimes it's on purpose, sometimes it's not. But they often do. They often screw with you. And there's a lot of ego in it. And you'll start believing things like... what is it? It's like in the Golden Dawn, they have the secret chiefs, and Mathers founded, the Golden Dawn, and he would be like, oh, well, the secret chiefs have spoken to me, and X, Y, and Z is what we're going to do, etc. And there's a lot of bullshitting and ego and manipulation that goes on in these sorts of things that you have to be very, very careful about. It's no joke. It's very brainwashy. So you have to be careful. You have to, you just have to be careful. And I'm not saying that is always the case, but one has to be very, very careful when looking into this stuff and making sure that you have a very firm foundation of logic and reason. So philosophy is extremely important. And I would very much, recommend that people understand how to think logically, how to think rationally. That's why I always say that I highly recommend people take at least a Philosophy 101 course, which you can find a playlist on YouTube, and you could finish it in a week. There's 7-8 videos, 45 minutes each. You could finish it in a week. Anyway, but let's continue. I'm getting off track here. So basically what Pike's point is that there is, secrets of the universe hidden in these symbols. By and by, even our scientists will, like weary and disappointed children, become tired in trying to do it all over again by themselves, and they will no longer turn a deaf ear to the immortal, though silent voices of the past. Did I skip a page? Yes, I think I did. Hold on. Hold on. I skipped a page. Oh, wow. We've only gotten... All right, we're going to have to go faster because I just realized that we've only done one page. Oh, my God. Okay. Let me try not to get too sidetracked. There's so many interesting things to talk about, though. All right, let's try and do this. The priests of Egypt knew better than we do the laws of movement and life. And the answer to that is, well, like, sort of, kind of. It depends how you're talking about it. Pragmatically, no, we must know a lot more about it now. But if we're talking about sort of intuitively, such as the fact that, let's say, the Egyptians knew the importance of, like, the transition of the soul, like in things like that, yes, they did, but they knew it symbolically, they didn't know it rigorously. So it depends what one is talking about. So philosophy, however, may give us a key to symbolism, a universal modulus. True philosophy discerns the plans drawn by divinity on the tracing board of time for the building of the cosmos. Yes, that's true. I like this. The primary concepts of such a philosophy are few and simple, so indeed are the root forms in symbolism. The changes rung on the concept and symbol. As the plan unfolds, become more and more complex, even where they are wrought by those who know. When from these symbolism descends to parable and allegory in order to clothe the primary concept in ethical language and make it apprehensible and binding to the ignorant masses, it's a garment and fiat read, "Thus saith the Lord." So here's the interesting thing. What they're saying here is when you basically take a concept and you wrap it up in symbolism, and you take that concept and you wrap it up in symbolism and you clothe it in parable and allegory. So you take an idea, like an actual concrete idea, then you wrap it up in symbolism, you wrap it up in allegory, and you wrap it up in a story. To basically, their point is to tell it to the masses in such a way that the masses would be able to understand it. And then it says, it's apprehensible and binding to the ignorant masses, and its garment and fiat read, "Thus saith the Lord." So if one has sort of a holy command embedded with these symbols as well, they're going to take it seriously and listen to it. If this is like, oh, well, this is divine, this is coming from the Lord. So the idea is that you have a core idea that's wrapped up in symbolism, so that the so-called ignorant masses will be able to understand it. Now, we're going to explore that more, but the thing here is, okay, so for example, like let's take the story of Jesus Christ, okay? So you have the story of Jesus Christ, who is a man, but also God, who comes to earth and lives in man, and is also divine, and he is basically going around teaching people the things of God, etc. So what this is a symbol for is that man can be divine. That human and man are not separate things, but they are a unified thing. That's the symbolism of Jesus Christ. That, not that he was actually this guy that walked on water and was risen from the dead, but the story of Jesus Christ is a symbol that comes with it, embedded with it, the concept that humanity is divine. Humanity and God are one and the same. That's what the representation of Jesus Christ is. So that's what they're saying, is that basically they're taking this idea that man is God and wrapping it up into a story, an allegory, and a parable, Jesus Christ, and then telling the story and parable to humanity so that the ignorant masses can understand it, because they supposedly couldn't understand the actual truth. couple things to say about that real quick. First of all, maybe that was necessary in the past. That's not necessary anymore. We don't need to do that. Are allegories and metaphors helpful? Yeah, they are. I use them all the time. I talk about, reality being like a computer game and all that. But the thing is that I tell you that it's an allegory. I don't go, oh no, we are actually living in a digital computer and watch out for the, evil, virus capitalists that, the capitalists are viruses or something like that. No, it's, that it's an allegory. And that's why we need to get rid of the religion causes so much problem because people take the symbols as true. Religion wouldn't be a problem if people knew that they were a parable or a story for something underlying it. If they knew that it was just, oh, well, it's just a story to help me understand the truth, then religion would be fine. The problem is that people take religion literally and the symbols literally rather than knowing that it's just a symbol for something else. And so we don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to use a mythos or symbolism to, we can tell people the truth of reality and then tell them an allegory to help them, but let them know explicitly that it is an allegory. That's what we need to do. We are beyond the point where we have to, that people have to just wrap things up in symbolism. We don't have to do that anymore. We can use it as an aid, as long as it's explicitly known that it is an aid. And that's another reason why to be careful of esoteric societies, secret societies, occult systems, mystery schools, all that sort of stuff, because they will use these symbols and they won't tell you they're symbols. They'll just be like, oh, this is the way it is. And if you're smart enough, maybe you'll figure out that it isn't. But that's a really stupid way to do things, at least now. In the past, maybe, whatever. But now, no, you don't need to do that. So that's another reason why you got to be careful with this stuff, because some people, they'll get you so, fucked up, you won't know which way is up and which way is down. Let's see. Okay, so we're talking about symbolism being wrapped up to hide a core message, or at least contain a core message to be taught to the ignorant masses. And again, I don't like this. This is very much like the sheep and the shepherd mentality. Oh, like the dumb flock can't know this. They must follow me, the master shepherd. I don't really like the use of the word master. I don't like that. Teacher is much better. Something along those lines. So when, however, ignorance in high places or cupidity and lust for power interpret or willfully suppress, disfigure, and distort the ancient symbols, as has been done for these many centuries, the masses are not prepared to believe that the real truth, uncontaminated by man, has ever been discovered. So they're saying that you have these symbols, like the story of Jesus Christ or whatever it is, but when ignorance in high places, or the lust for power, or a willful suppression or disfiguration and distortion of the ancient symbols has been done for many centuries, the masses aren't prepared to believe that the real truth, uncontaminated by man, has ever been discovered. So basically what they're saying is that, all right, so you have these symbols like the story of Jesus. I'm just using that as an example. You can think of many, many different ones. A lot of Greek stories, Egyptian stories, all these different stories are stories for a hidden truth. So they're saying basically, so you have this hidden truth hidden within the story, but then someone who lusts for power, wants to control people, or for whatever reason, transforms and distorts and disfigures these symbols to basically trick the masses to believe in something different. Well, what the masses are going to do is they're going to believe basically that these symbols are true, and they're not going to believe in the real truth. They're going to believe in this false truth because of this distortion. So the Vandals have done their work better and more successfully in thus blotting out all belief in the existence of the old wisdom than in destroying the records of the truth itself. So the Vandals, these people who have lust for power, or they just want to control people or suppress the population, whatever it might be, those Vandals have done this work so successfully in blotting out all belief in the existence of the old wisdom, or basically meaning like what is true about existence, than in destroying the records of the truth itself. So they've basically duped humanity so well that it's been more effective than just getting rid of records of the truth. So, the records of the truth may exist, they're saying, but these vandals have fucked with people's minds so badly that it's more effective than if they would have just gotten rid of the truth, because people have been so brainwashed that so the thing is with this, right? So look at the difference here. If one were to just get rid of the records of the truth, people would still be looking for it. They would still be searching for the truth and may discover it. However, if the records still exist, but you convince someone to believe in another truth, they aren't going to go looking for the truth because they believe that they have already found it. That's the issue. And that's why it's so nefarious. When you believe that you know the truth, you're not going to go looking for the truth because you believe that you already have it. Now, this was really important to understand. I grew up in a strict religious Christian household, and this is why one has to be very, very careful about believing so-called certain truths. After I broke out of Christianity, I have been extremely skeptical of this. Now, one has to also realize that, like the philosopher Hegel said, to be aware of your limitations is to already be beyond them. So if you realize that there's some limitation or something that you don't know, that's a good thing, because now oh, there is something that there is more that I can go seek out and find. If you believe that there are no limitations and that you know everything, you're going to be stuck in your bubble, never looking for anything else because you believe you have it all. So that's a really important part to understand. And this tactic is used a lot it's quite astounding. And that's why I really enjoy, the community here, because I love being able to see those who are really interested in learning how to think freely. And that's why I always want Hyperianism to be about not telling you what to think, but showing you how to think so that you can understand these things for yourself. Because I can't tell you how many people I know or have met at one point that are just so utterly brainwashed that they can't tell left from right. And it's very scary. These tactics are very real, and they're used very often, and they've been used to control the masses throughout history. We want to get away from that. We want to liberate humanity by actually teaching them how to think properly, how to think rationally, and to be able to live freely, rather than having, some people with huge egos at the top intentionally fuck with people, which is not good. Which is why, a lot of that comes. Well, here, let's just continue because we have a lot to talk about. So, we may have to get to the gender part in another video. We may have to do it in another video because I don't think we'll have time to get to that, but we'll see. So anyway, you have these symbols, then vile people who want power and to control the masses come along, they distort it, and then people completely miss truth because they believe that they have truth already, but they're believing in this simulacrum, this false truth. The real symbols are the modulus of nature, and man can never destroy these. And that's absolutely true. The real symbols are the modulus of nature. I mean, everything around you is really a symbol, but people never look into, usually they're very, very shallow and they just see the appearances rather than understanding what the symbol actually is. So Thales and Pike, so is this another quote by Pike? Yes, so this is another quote by Albert Pike from Morals and Dogma. We'll read that at some point, I'm sure. Thales and Pythagoras learned in the sanctuaries of Egypt that the earth revolved around the sun, but they did not attempt to make this generally known because to do so it would have been necessary to reveal one of the greatest secrets of the temple, the double law of attraction and radiation, or of sympathy and antipathy, of fixedness and movement, which is the principle of creation and the perpetual cause of life. The truth was ridiculed by Lactantius, as it was long after sought to be proven a falsehood by persecution by papal Rome. So the philosophers reasoned, while the priests, without replying to them or even smiling at their errors, wrote in those hieroglyphics that created all dogmas and all poetry, the secrets of truth. So to preserve its authority and its prerequisites, ecclesiasticism will today, as in all the past, answer such statements with neither fact, reason, nor arguments, but with a curse. And so long as men grovel with fear at the curse, will the truth be concealed. So I want to just jump in that again. So according to the quote by Pike, it says Thales and Pythagoras learned in Egypt that the earth revolved around the sun. But they didn't attempt to make this known, because to do so, it would have been necessary to reveal one of the great secrets of the temple. And a couple things here. First of all, we don't know if this is true. This is just, there's no evidence provided that Thales and Pythagoras knew that the earth revolves. So this is a good case in point, talking about how like these secret societies and esoteric places exist. Like they're just claiming that Thales and Pythagoras knew and learned in Egypt that the earth revolved around the sun. Did that happen? I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. He's probably making it up. He's probably just saying that. That would be my guess. Do I know that? Could that have actually happened? Yeah, it could have actually happened. But he could just be making that up. And he probably is just making that up. But the point is, right, even if they didn't make it up, it says they didn't reveal it because in order to do so, they would have had to reveal the greatest secrets of the temple or whatever. Well, so what? Like, who cares? If they had to reveal some secret of the temple, like, what? So, like, all this stuff is it's kind of bullshit. It's, it may or may not be true, but it's just this idea of saying things without anything to back it up, and then like, oh, well, they didn't do it because it would have revealed one of the greatest secrets of the temple. And so that's why I say be careful with this kind of stuff, because they'll throw things in there just to, sound like they have secret knowledge or whatever. But in any case, we don't need, even if, let's say that was required, like why can't you reveal the secrets of the temple, this double law of attraction and radiation or sympathy? And like, why can't you also reveal that? Why not? Why? But let's say there was a good reason. Maybe they would be persecuted or something. I don't know. Today, that's no longer necessary. We can talk about the nature of reality. We can talk about the truth of reality, and we don't have to be like, ooh, well, no, we have to wrap it up in symbolism because people are too dumb to know it. No, that's a terrible attitude to have. What if teachers had that attitude? We want to be, and this is the big difference between being like a master in a negative way and a teacher. If you're a master over someone like that, I don't like this idea of like, oh, well, the masses are too ignorant. We must wrap it up in story for them to be able to grasp this knowledge that's just way beyond them. What if teachers had that idea? No one would learn anything. If you went to college to try and learn something, and what if the professor was like, oh, well, you're much too dumb to be able to understand this, of course. So here, let me give you the child's coloring book version of it. Here, color in the pages. Like, no one would learn anything. It's just the teacher being a dick and having a big ego. And you get that a lot in these things, a lot of these circles. And I'm definitely not saying that all of them are like this. I'm just saying in my experience, it's very often the case. And I don't agree with these methods. We should be able to teach these things to people who want to know them, who want to learn them, and so we can have a better world and a better place. We don't have to wrap it up in bullshit stories. And if we want to use metaphors and allegories, that's fine. But we tell people that they're metaphors and allegories, not that, oh, well, this is actually true, or maybe if you're smart enough, you'll figure it out someday that it actually contains this secret. No, I mean, come on, like, stop. It's dumb. So, So to preserve the authority and its prerequisites, ecclesiasticism will today, as in all the past, answer such statements with neither fact, reason, nor arguments, but with a curse. So basically, religious people don't listen to you if you try to tell them there's a hidden truth, and they'll respond with a curse. Just be angry with you. And so long as men grovel with fear at the curse, with the truth be concealed. Why men are wise enough and brave enough to defy both the anathema and the anathematizer, the whole opposition to light and progress will fall to pieces. Till then, the ignorant masses, imitating their superiors, will scout, ridicule, and slander all who speak the truth. And this is really true. So this is what they're saying here, is that, so until people are wise enough and brazen enough to have actual progress and understand truth. Until then, the ignorant masses who are imitating their superiors will scout and ridicule and slander all those who do speak the truth. So essentially, all the people who are, you have their masters who have their superiors or masters who have brainwashed their followers. What they're going to do is go scout, ridicule, and slander everyone who is speaking the truth. And yeah, you see that a lot. It's not a good situation. And that's what you really have to focus on. Just helping humanity, speaking the truth about reality. You have all these different like cults and whatnot that go out there and then just try and fuck with people. And it's really dumb. If you're on the side of trying to make the world a better place, guess what you do? You actually spend some time trying to make the world a better place, not just, trolling or being, very, very childish. So the whole idea here is that we can transform the world. And in Hyperianism, that's what we're all about. And we're doing so through logic, reason, through teaching people, having compassion, having care, having, understanding where if someone isn't understanding something, helping them, teaching them, not looking at them, oh, ignorant fool. Ignorant fool cannot pass the 22nd degree. No, like help them learn. It's silly that I have to say these things, but you meet like all these different you meet there's like Masonry, there's and I'm not, I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on Masonry. I have not been involved in Masonry, okay? I just have a general experience with how these different things do their stuff by reading material and all that. But some of these they're very childish. So a lot of these places are like children, and you look at it and it's sort of like little children who play fort and have formed this little club and don't let anyone else in their club. Like, oh, well, you can't come in here unless you know the secret password. Do you know the secret password? Do you know the secret handshake? Oh, well, then you can't come in and know the things that we know. And then as we're going to see later, we might have to talk about next week, but we're going to talk about how when it comes to women in Freemasonry, and women are very segregated in Freemasonry. So it's kind of like that. Well, no girls allowed. And then you have this sort of like angsty teenager version of secret societies too, as well, where they're like, oh, well, we're the super enlightened ones. And they have this like, super rebellious attitude or something. It's just like, come on, kids, come on, just settle down. It's okay. Calm down. I know you need a nap. I know you're getting cranky. But ultimately, we are here to change the world. And we're not going to change the world until we come together and do it and actually start to work on changing the world, not a lot of these little silly things that these places get into. Now, there is some good info in this sort of material, and that's why I read it with you guys in the channel. But I want to be real with you. I'm going to tell you what I think about it, what I don't think about it, and the good things that I see in it and the bad things that I see in it. There's some good stuff in here. There's also, some bad stuff in here, and we're going to look at all of that, and I'm going to tell you what I think about it. You don't have to agree with me. You can disagree with me. And and to be fair as well, like, this is a book on Masonry that's over 120 years old. I don't have much experience in modern Masonry, and modern Masonry is very different, obviously, than it was 100 years ago. I know some things about it, but I will say that most of the Masons that I have met turned out to be assholes. And this is not I'm sure there's some great Masons out there. Maybe I've just had bad luck. I don't know. But, and not just Mason, most people in the occult community, most people in the occult and esoteric community that I have met have turned out to be huge dicks. Satanists have been super nice. Wiccans, super nice. I haven't met too many Wiccans, though, actually. So let me put that on hold, because I actually haven't met too many Wiccans, so I couldn't really say. Satanists have been the nicest people that I have met. Love Satanists, for the most part. I'm sure there's some terrible ones out there, but for the most part, most of the Satanists that I have met have been fucking awesome people. But yeah, occult, esoteric kind of people that I've met, they just have huge egos. They think they're better than everyone, and and they're assholes. Again, maybe I just met the bad ones, but that has been my experience so far. So I'm not making a blanket statement. I'm just letting you know my experience. Let's see. And I'm not holding any grudge or anything. I'm like, let's just get along, right? If I met some awesome Masons or awesome Thelemites or whatever, that'd be great. I think that would be super cool. I'd love to be able to work together, create some kind of, allied thing. I think would be amazing. So I'm all on board with that. I'm just letting you know the experiences that I have had so far, and I hope that changes. I really, really do. So till then, the ignorant masses, intimidated their superiors, will scout, ridicule, and slander everyone who speaks the truth. Freedom and enlightenment are the only real saviors of mankind, while ignorance is the father of superstition and selfishness the parent of vice. Absolutely. So, the ideal in church and state, motive for the ecclesiastical and political hierarchies, has been in all ages to govern men professedly for their own good. The secret doctrine teaches man to govern himself. So long as the hierarchies subordinate all things to the real benefit of man and give light and knowledge to all in such measure as they are capable of receiving, they are a blessing and not a curse. When, however, the potentate suppresses knowledge, claims power by divine right, or by inheritance rather than proof of knowledge and by service done to man, when ignorance or disbelief is punished as a crime and men torture the body or agonize the mind under the devil's plea to save the soul, then he does the hierarchy become an enemy of both God and man. So basically they're talking about the difference between an individual having mastery over themselves versus this ecclesiastical church version of hierarchies where people are claiming divine rights or inheritance or some godly power or whatever simply by saying it is so rather than providing any evidence for it. And you have to be careful with that as well, even in these esoteric communities, like I mentioned with the Golden Dawn and their secret chiefs. You'll see that. You can even Google, if you Google Golden Dawn, you'll see like people going, I received a message from the secret chief and blah, 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 blah. And who are the secret chiefs? Well, they're these supposedly, I don't know, like astral beings or something. It's made up bullshit, is what it is, so that people will listen. But you see this a lot. It's really common in esoteric and secret societies of having this like, oh, well, I communed with such and such entity and I have this to tell you now. So it's really embedded within all these communities now. So you have to be, careful about that. If someone's making a big claim, well, they better have the evidence to back it up. So neither political nor religious hierarchy has ever existed for any great length of time in the outer world without becoming corrupt. The continuance of power in such cases may always depend on the ignorance of the people. Therefore, the hierarchy will resist to the utmost the spread of true enlightenment. So the hierarchy, the establishment, is going to try and suppress true enlightenment because they control people through ignorance. They don't want the people to be enlightened. They don't want people to have knowledge. It is for this reason that for many centuries, the secret doctrine and all the students or expounders have been under ban of the church and of the state, whether ecclesiasticism has been able to form an alliance therewith. Persecution in every form for opinion's sake is ever the sign manual of worldliness and irreligion. It is rule of the might against right and the trampling underfoot of the weak and helpless by the strong and powerful. And to complete the blasphemy and monument the cruelty, such persecution is generally enacted in the name of the Lord. So we know this already. Church has become corrupt with power. They want the masses to remain ignorant, and they persecute and oppress individuals and persecute people who are trying to spread truth in the name of the Lord. The altars of Masonry have ever been the beacon lights of liberty, and the lodge a city of refuge, a sanctuary of knowledge and protection to the wayfaring brother of all nations and tongues. Patterning after the sanctuaries of the ancient mysteries and founded on the principle of the universal and unqualified brotherhood of man, they have held aloft the torch of liberty. So I will say that, right, like Masonry is a big step above from mainstream religion, and I'll say that about like certain occult systems too. But you just, the thing is that it doesn't need to be done this way. If the whole point, all these systems are going to be corrupt. If you're using trickery, if you're using symbolism, if you're not being straight up with people, it's going to get corrupt because you're not teaching people how to think. You're just using you're using symbolism and whatnot to get people to accept your dogma. What you need to do is actually teach people how and why these things are. And if you need to use symbols and allegory, that's awesome. That's great. But you should be explicit that these are symbols and these are allegory. And what's also very nefarious about this sort of thing is that it's going to attract the kind of people who would not necessarily be receptive to understanding these ideas in the first place. You see what I mean by this is that if you have this like, ooh, well, secret society and symbolism and hidden mystery school and blah, blah, blah. Most rational people are going to look at that and go, what the fuck is this? No, thank you. Not all the time, but most of the time. However, if you say like, hey, look, we have this new understanding of reality and existence. Here, let's talk about it. Here's some metaphors to help you. We don't believe these metaphors are true, but they're helpful. And here's what we're actually trying to do. Here's how the world actually is. Then you actually start getting people who are like, what I'm saying is a free thinker, an autonomous individual isn't going to be roped into doing all these like secret symbolism and ritual things without being told what the fuck, what is this for? Why am I doing this? Why should I do this thing? Why? What? Just because you tell me to? Because I'll reach some degree if I do it? Okay, no. And granted, not all of these things work this way. There's a lot of different lodges. They operate in different ways. So I'm not being critical of anything specific. I'm being very general here. We'd be here all day if I had to talk about every specific thing. But you get the idea. If you want people who are receptive to being free, autonomous individuals, the way you do that is by helping liberate their mind and unlocking that autonomy and getting them to unlock that autonomy within themselves, not getting them to do silly rituals. So rituals can be fun and great and awesome for creating a culture and creating a sense of community. But if you know what they're for and you're not just doing it because it's like the emperor who wore no clothes, the emperor who wears no clothes, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I can see the clothes. You see this so much in like esoteric communities where everyone's doing these rituals to summon these different things. And it's like, oh, well, did you have knowledge and conversation with the holy guardian angel? Oh yeah, I did, didn't you? Oh yeah, I definitely did. Because everyone, well, you know, and they're doing these silly things that don't do anything, that they're basically doing just because everyone else is doing it and they don't want to be left out and be like, no, don't you think this is kind of weird? No, it's kind of funny. Now, that's not to say that these rituals aren't helpful. What a system of magic actually does is it helps you integrate the unconscious because you're working with unconscious archetypes. But most people don't know that. Most people don't know that they're just working with unconscious archetypes, and they take the symbols and rituals to be literal and true. And what I'm just saying is if you're going to do that stuff, that's fine. But tell people, hey, guess what? You're working with unconscious archetypes. You're not literally summoning Gabriel and Raphael. These are parts of you from the unconscious that you're bringing into the unconscious. And if you do that, then it's fine. You can have the ritual. The ritual will be effective. It'll be great. Builds a sense of community. It's very interesting. Not against them. Very interesting. But now you're not going to have people thinking that they're literally summoning angels. And, anyway, you get what I'm saying. The altars of Masonry, oh yeah, so have been a beacon of knowledge, torch of liberty. In later times, distinctions and color lines have divided the craft. The lodge has never resorted to persecution or been the agent of oppression. When these veils have for the time obscured, the true lights are removed, and every man is regarded for his intrinsic worth alone. And Masonry is indeed and in truth no respecter of persons, then will this great organization enter on an era of prosperity such as is the heritage from all the past. And it is right by the simple power of brotherly love, relief, and truth. The tradition of Masonry in later times exclude women from participating in the work of the lodge, but not from all the rights and benefits of the craft. The reasons that have led to the exclusion of women need not here be discussed. A sufficient answer to all advocates of androgynous masonry may be found in history of all attempts to establish or revive it. So this is actually the next, let's see, how many pages? Okay, just a few. But the next pages are going to get into why masonry excludes women, or at least segregates women today. That's not excluded completely. There's like a segregated into men and women. Some lodges perhaps don't, but for the most part, that's how it is as far as I understand it. So we're going to save this for next time, because that is also really important to understand. What we're going to talk about next time is the exclusion of women from a lot of these systems. And this is a big reason why, not the only reason why, but a big reason why the world is so fucked up today, because you have these extremely patriarchal masculine systems that don't integrate any sort of compassion, any sort of care, or any sort of, understanding of a holistic form of loving unity. These systems have become extremely masculine and extremely patriarchal, and actually have a disdain for the feminine, and it leads to a lot of problems. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. But I hope you understand the real importance of all this. So it talks about what symbolism was and it's used for. It's used to conceal a truth, so that if someone studies it, they'll be able to uncover the hidden truth within it and be able to understand what that is. But that has been perverted over the years into like the mainstream religions that we have today, and all these different systems that control people and the masses. My point is that going forward, what we're doing here is we want to teach people. We want to operate in a way where we are giving this information and making it available to everyone as easily as possible. We want to teach. We want to help. We want to be explicit, and if explicit with our teachings. And if rather than implicitly hiding it in a symbol, if we're using symbols and analogies, that's great, but we will be explicit about the fact that they are symbols and analogies. We'll say X, Y, Z, but this is a symbol, this is an analogy. And that's the way it should be done, and that's the way it must be done. So it stopped looking at this weird like master-servant thing where, oh, well, I, the master, have this knowledge, and let's see, servant, if you can figure this out, and if you can figure it out, maybe you're worthy to enter into the knowledge of the highest degree of the greater mysteries. No, it's like, we are here to help you. If you're having a hard time, let's help you out. Let's see, what we can do to make you understand and better. A great teacher, the best teachers are the ones where they want their students to become better than them. Like that's yes. Like you don't, instead of rather this like lording over the dumb, ignorant masses. You see the difference here? You should, instead of looking at the dumb, ignorant masses, you just look at them like children. And what children have, they have potential. Other dumb, ignorant children. I mean, sometimes if you get frustrated, you might say so. But children aren't literally dumb and ignorant. They have potential, and they can unlock that potential. The masses, they're like children. They have potential, and we can help them unlock that potential. And that's the perspective that we have. Rather than looking, the dumb, ignorant masses, let's give them this fake version that they can play with. No. They have beautiful potential, and while they may make some bad choices, it's because they don't know any better, and we can help them by helping them learn, grow, and understand and become the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. And that's what our mission is, to help wake up the world and bring everyone to that higher form of consciousness so that we can start having a much better experience here together. So if you enjoyed that, I hope you did. Check out my playlist. I'll put up a playlist of more videos on this this whole book. Check it out. If you enjoyed this, you'll like all the rest of them. Next time, we're going to be talking about the role of and why the women are excluded in Masonry. Most likely will be the next topic. That's going to be a very important one. If you enjoy my work, if you ever felt like you've gotten something or learned something from my work, consider supporting on Patreon. Helps out a lot. You get access to our weekly secret live streams, our hidden Discord server, the Citadel. It allows me to do my videos, have a roof over my head, write my books, all that sort of thing. I really appreciate it. I want to give a big shout out to some of our top supporters. Let's see, especially Zach, Renaissance Fairy, Cassidy, Michael, Angela, Maria, Top of the World, Ethan, DB, and Storm the Delta, and everyone else. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. The link will pop up right over here.